You're standing in the grocery checkout line, watching the total climb like it has a personal vendetta against you. Eggs, cereal, chicken, paper towels, diapers, coffee, nothing fancy, no lobster tails, no organic Himalayan moon water. Just basic stuff a regular household needs to survive the week. And somehow the screen says 147.83. You already know your checking account is thin, rent is due Friday, car insurance hits tomorrow, gas is low. There's probably one subscription you forgot to cancel quietly, waiting in the shadows like a little financial mosquito. So you do what millions of Americans do every single day. You swipe the credit card, and for about 3 seconds, everything feels fine. The groceries are bagged. The cashier hands you the receipt. You walk out like a normal functioning adult in a normal functioning country. But deep down, you know what just happened. You didn't pay for those groceries. Your future paycheck did. And that is the part nobody wants to talk about. Because credit card debt is not always champagne, Vegas trips, designer bags, and people trying to look rich on Instagram. A lot of the time, it is groceries, gas, childcare, medical copays, Amazon household stuff, school supplies, subscriptions, DoorDash after a brutal 12-hour day, and one quick Target run that somehow turns into $87, even though you only went in for toothpaste. That is why credit card debt is so dangerous. It does not feel like failure at first. It feels like survival. It feels like getting through the week. It feels like keeping the lights on. It feels like buying your kid the birthday gift, fixing the tire, covering the prescription, or pretending for one more day that everything is still under control. And you are not crazy for feeling exhausted by this. You are living in an economy where the basic cost of existing keeps climbing, but everyone is still expected to smile, work, consume, subscribe, upgrade, tip, pay, finance, and act normal. This video is not about shaming you for using credit cards. It is about exposing the psychological trap, because credit cards let Americans keep the appearance of a normal life while quietly selling off future income month by month. Credit cards don't make you feel broke today. They make your future self pay for the lie. The brutal reality is that most Americans are not falling into credit card debt because they woke up one day and said, "You know what would be fun? Financial self-destruction." They fall into it because the modern American lifestyle is built around pretending instability is normal. Everything is sold to you as a monthly payment. Not the real cost, not the total cost, not the long-term trade-off, just the payment. A car is not $48,000 anymore. It is $799 a month. A phone is not $1,200. It is $33 a month. Furniture is not $3,000. It is 0% financing for 18 months, which sounds responsible until month 19 shows up with a baseball bat. Even vacations, medical bills, mattresses, laptops, dental work, and Christmas gifts now come with some version of, "Don't worry, you can break this into easy payments." So the question changes. People stop asking, "Can I actually afford this?" They start asking, "Can I survive the payment?" And that tiny shift wrecks people. Because "can I survive the payment" is not the same as "this fits into my life." It just means you can drag one more monthly obligation behind you without collapsing today. That is exactly where credit cards become dangerous. Credit cards blur the pain of spending. Paying cash feels real. You hand over actual money and your brain understands, okay, something left my life. Watching your checking account drop also feels real. You see the number fall and your stomach reacts. But swiping a credit card, tapping your phone, clicking buy now on Amazon with a saved card, that barely feels like spending. It feels like motion. It feels like convenience. It feels like life continuing. Your brain gets the reward now and delays the pain until later. That is not a character flaw. That is behavioral finance. It is called present bias. Your brain naturally overvalues immediate relief and undervalues future consequences. And credit cards are basically engineered to exploit that. You are stressed now, so you swipe now. You need groceries now. You need gas now. Your kid needs shoes now. The dog needs the vet now. The car needs a battery now. The future bill feels abstract because future you is not standing at the checkout counter with a crying toddler and 12 people behind them in line. Future you is easy to rob because future you is not here to defend themselves. Then comes the minimum payment. And this is maybe the most seductive part of the entire trap. You open the app and see the damage. The balance is $6,000, or $12,000, or $25,000 spread across 3 cards with cute names and terrible interest rates. But then you see it. Minimum payment due $89, and your brain exhales. Okay, I'm fine, I can do $89. But that minimum payment is not a rescue plan. It is a permission slip to stay trapped. It keeps the account alive. It keeps the bank happy. It protects your credit score just enough to make you feel responsible. But in the background, the balance is still sitting there, growing, feeding, quietly taking little bites out of your future income. And the worst part is, credit cards do not just protect your lifestyle. They protect your identity. Because a lot of Americans are not using debt to look rich. They are using debt to avoid feeling poor. That is a huge difference. They are not buying champagne in Miami. They are buying groceries without panic. They are taking their kid to a birthday party and buying a gift because they do not want their child to feel left out. They are replacing work shoes. They are fixing the car because they need it to get to the job that pays for the car. They are covering an emergency dental bill because pain does not care what payday is. Credit card debt often begins as a way to keep your life emotionally intact. It lets you say, "We're okay," even when the math is whispering, "No, we're not." And that is why the debt becomes so sticky. Bankrate has reported that nearly 2 in 3 Americans carrying credit card debt have delayed or avoided major financial decisions because of it, including building emergency savings and investing. That means credit card debt is not just sitting there as a bill. It is pushing people's futures further and further away. The emergency fund waits, the Roth IRA waits, the 401 contribution waits, the down payment waits, the business idea waits, the peace of mind waits, because the credit card bill gets paid first. So the trap is not just the interest rate, even though the interest rate is brutal. The real trap is that debt keeps life looking normal long enough for the problem to become massive. And by the time it finally feels like an emergency, it has already been quietly draining your future for months, maybe years. Here is the psychological shift that changes everything. Credit card debt is not just money you owe. It is future freedom you already spent. That sounds dramatic until you really sit with it. Because when you carry a balance, your future paycheck is no longer fully yours. Before you even clock in next month, before you answer another email, before you sit in traffic, before your boss asks you to circle back on something that could have been a 2-sentence text, pieces of that paycheck already belong to the bank. You have not earned the money yet, but it is already spoken for. That is the invisible prison of credit card debt. It does not always look like a prison from the outside. From the outside, life might look normal. You still go to work. You still grab coffee. You still take the kids to soccer practice. You still have a decent apartment, a decent car, a few packages on the porch, maybe a dinner out on Friday. Because honestly, after the week you had, cooking feels like a personal attack. But underneath that normal-looking life, your future income is being sliced up before it even reaches you. And that is where the psychological shift has to happen. Most people think credit card debt is a math problem. And yes, the math matters, the interest rate matters, the balance matters, the payment matters. But the reason people stay stuck is usually not just math. It is emotion. The cycle looks like this. You feel stressed, so you swipe a little to feel normal. Maybe it is food delivery because you are exhausted. Maybe it is Amazon because buying something gives you a tiny hit of control. Maybe it is a Target run because walking through those aisles feels weirdly therapeutic until the receipt punches you in the face. For a few minutes, the spending works. You feel relief. Then the bill arrives. Now you feel shame. You avoid looking at the app. You tell yourself you will deal with it after the next paycheck. You make the minimum payment because at least that proves you are not ignoring it completely. Then life happens again. The car needs something. Groceries cost more than expected. A friend invites you out. Your kid needs money for school. You have a bad day and your brain starts hunting for relief. So you swipe again. Stress. Swipe temporary relief. Bill. Shame. Avoidance. Minimum payment. More stress. That is the credit card survival cycle. And the cruel part is that every step makes emotional sense in the moment. Nobody feels powerful when they are panicking over groceries. Nobody feels strategic when they are choosing between gas and a medical copay. Nobody feels like Warren Buffett when rent is due and the checking account looks like it just survived a natural disaster. So the card becomes emotional oxygen. It lets you breathe for a second, but the oxygen is borrowed, and eventually the bill comes due with interest. This is why the real goal is not to look successful. The opposite of being broke is not looking rich. The opposite of being broke is having options. That is the mindset shift. Wealth is not the ability to buy something today. Any bank can give you that feeling for 29% interest. Wealth is the ability to say no. No to the toxic job that owns your nervous system. No to panic when the car battery dies. No to staying in a bad relationship because you cannot afford rent alone. No to desperate decisions. No to financing every inconvenience. No to pretending you are fine just because a credit card gives you permission to keep performing normal. That is freedom. And freedom does not always look impressive on Instagram. A person can have a new SUV, a nice apartment, brunch photos, clean countertops, fresh sneakers, and a front porch stacked with Amazon boxes and still be completely trapped. Every month the payments come marching in like little soldiers, and their paycheck disappears before they can even breathe. Meanwhile, another person can drive an older paid-off car, cook at home, wear normal clothes, skip the upgrade, ignore the pressure, and quietly build a life where emergencies do not destroy them. That person may not look rich, but they are becoming free. And this is where credit cards mess with your brain. They give you dopamine now and consequences later. They offer relief now and resentment later. They let you become, for a moment, the version of yourself who does not have to feel the pressure. But peace works the opposite way. Peace often feels boring at first. Peace is not the dopamine hit of clicking, buy now. Peace is looking at your account and knowing rent is covered. Peace is having a small emergency fund. Peace is making progress on a balance. Peace is not being afraid to open the banking app. Peace is not mentally calculating whether a tank of gas is going to ruin your week. At some point, you have to ask yourself a harder question before every swipe. Is this actually solving a problem? Or is this helping me avoid a feeling? Because every swipe is either buying something you truly need or buying a temporary version of yourself who does not have to feel the truth yet. And that truth might be uncomfortable. Maybe your lifestyle is too expensive for your income. Maybe your emergency fund is not optional. Maybe the subscriptions, the food delivery, the random convenience spending, and the I deserve this purchases are not self-care anymore. Maybe they are financial anesthesia. And anesthesia is useful during surgery. But you cannot live your whole life numb. The moment you stop seeing credit card debt as a normal bill and start seeing it as borrowed life force, your behavior changes. Because now it is not just about paying off a card. It is about getting your future back. Here is the unpopular truth. You do not beat credit card debt with motivation. Motivation is cute for about 4 days, then life hits. You get tired. The car makes a weird noise. Your kid needs something. Your boss ruins your afternoon. You have one of those days where cooking dinner feels like building a house from scratch. And suddenly, the same brain that promised to get serious this month is ordering DoorDash and telling itself it's only this one time. That is why the solution cannot just be, try harder. You beat credit card debt by redesigning your environment so your stressed out brain has fewer chances to betray you. Because the version of you making a budget on Sunday night is not the same version of you sitting in your car at 6:47 p.m., exhausted, hungry, overstimulated, and one inconvenience away from financially dissociating. So first, stop using the card as emotional oxygen. Do not frame this as, I'm bad with money. Frame it as, my system is broken and I need to make the wrong choice harder. Remove your saved cards from Amazon. Remove them from DoorDash, Uber Eats, Walmart, Target, Apple Pay, and anywhere else your thumb can spend money faster than your brain can object. Cancel subscriptions you forgot were even part of your life. Unfollow the accounts that make you feel behind. Delete the shopping apps that turn boredom into debt. You are not trying to become morally superior. You are adding friction. Friction is powerful because most impulse spending lives in the gap between emotion and convenience. When buying something takes 3 seconds, your stressed brain wins. When buying something requires you to stand up, find the card, type the number, check the balance, and think for 10 actual seconds, sometimes the adult version of you gets back in the room. Second, build a truth budget, not a fantasy budget. Most budgets fail because people build them for a fake version of themselves. They say, this month I'm not eating out at all. I'm not buying anything random. I'm not going to need medicine. No gifts, no birthdays, no tires, no oil change, no school events, no weddings, no bad days, no cravings. No life. That is not a budget. That is fan fiction. A truth budget says, I am a real human being living in America, where one dental appointment can ruin the vibe of an entire month. So yes, include groceries, but also include the extra grocery run. Include gas. Include the birthday gift. Include medicine. Include pet costs. Include the random household stuff. Include a small amount for eating out, because pretending you will never be tired again is how you end up blowing the plan by Wednesday. A truth budget does not shame you. It tells the truth early, so your credit card does not have to tell it later. Third, create a small emergency buffer while attacking the debt. I know that sounds backward, People think every extra dollar should go straight to the card. And mathematically, sure, high interest debt is a fire. You want to attack it. But behaviorally, if you have zero cash buffer, the next emergency goes right back on the card. That is why so many people pay down $300, feel proud for 2 weeks, then the car needs $300. And boom, the balance is right back where it started. It feels like running on a treadmill while the bank charges admission. Bankrate has reported that 29% of Americans have more credit card debt than emergency savings. And that matters because without even a small cushion, your credit card remains your emergency fund. Start small. $500, $1,000. Enough to stop every inconvenience from becoming another swipe. You are not building the perfect emergency fund yet. You are building a wall between life and more debt. Fourth, choose the payoff method you will actually stick with. The debt avalanche is mathematically best. You attack the highest interest rate first, because that saves the most money. The debt snowball is psychologically powerful. You attack the smallest balance first, because quick wins build momentum. Finance nerds love arguing about which one is better. But here is the real answer. The best method is the one you will follow for 6 to 18 months without quitting. If you are highly logical and the interest rate makes you angry, use the avalanche. If you feel overwhelmed and need proof that progress is possible, use the snowball. This is not about winning a spreadsheet contest. This is about getting free. Fifth, stop treating minimum payments like a plan. The minimum payment is not the bank helping you. The minimum payment is the bank saying, you can stay trapped but politely. It keeps the account alive. It avoids late fees. It protects you from immediate damage. But it does not rescue your future. So yes, set up automatic payments for at least the minimum, because missed payments can make everything worse. But then schedule extra principal payments manually every payday. Not someday, not when life calms down. Payday. Because if you wait until the end of the month to see what is left, there will be nothing left. America is very good at making sure there is nothing left. Finally, replace shame with aggression. Not reckless aggression, not panic, not self-hatred, focused aggression. The kind that says, I am taking my paycheck back. Use debit or cash for variable spending for 30 to 60 days. Create a no-swipe zone for food delivery, random Amazon buys, boredom shopping, and anything you keep regretting later. Celebrate every balance drop like you used to celebrate a purchase. Because every extra payment is not just a payment. It is a piece of your future coming home. The goal is not to become a monk. The goal is to stop using tomorrow's paycheck to fund today's emotional survival. Nobody wants to talk about credit card debt because it feels personal. It feels like proof that you messed up. Proof that you should have known better. Proof that you are not disciplined enough, not smart enough, not responsible enough. But that is not the whole truth. The truth is, millions of Americans are stuck in the same machine. Rising costs, flat breathing room, medical surprises, car repair, childcare, groceries that somehow cost what a luxury dinner used to cost, subscriptions quietly draining accounts in the background, social pressure everywhere, and a culture that keeps whispering, keep buying, keep upgrading, keep participating, don't fall behind, don't look broke, don't admit you're tired. So people swipe, not always because they are reckless, sometimes because they are trying to hold their life together with a plastic rectangle and a prayer. But here is the hard truth. The most dangerous part of credit card debt is not the APR, even though the APR is brutal. The most dangerous part is that it lets you postpone honesty. It lets you avoid the full conversation. It lets you keep the apartment, the groceries, the dinners, the gifts, the Amazon orders, the normal-looking life, without having to immediately face the question underneath it all. Can I actually afford the life I am trying to maintain? And that question hurts, but avoiding it costs more. You do not need to fix your entire financial life today. You do not need to become perfect. You do not need to turn into some spreadsheet robot who meal preps lentils in silence and never enjoys anything again. You just need to break the cycle today. Start with one honest move. Open the app and look at the full balance, not the minimum payment, not the available credit, not the little number designed to make you feel like you still have room, the full balance. Then ask yourself, how much of my future income have I already promised away? That question may sting, but it also gives you power, because once you can see the truth, you can start taking pieces of your future back. Pick one card, pick one strategy, remove one spending trigger, make one extra payment, build one small cash buffer. Stop treating your future self like some stranger who can deal with everything later. Your future self is you, same person, same nervous system, same rent, same car, same life. And that person deserves protection. So if you are done letting credit card debt quietly control your future, comment one word below, free, and subscribe to the Wealth Mindset Code for more videos about money psychology and escaping the financial traps that keep normal Americans stuck while pretending everything is fine. Because you do not have to look rich, you have to get free. Credit cards are not evil. A credit card is just a tool. Used the right way, it can be convenient. It can protect you from fraud. It can help with travel, emergencies, rewards, and smoothing out timing between bills and paychecks. But a credit card becomes dangerous when it stops being a payment tool and becomes an emotional survival tool. Because a card can make life feel normal for one more week. It can cover the groceries. It can fill the gas tank. It can pay for the prescription, the childcare, the school supplies, the random house stuff, and the emergency expense that shows us up when your checking account is already gasping for air. But the balance does not disappear. It waits, then it taxes your future. And that is the golden takeaway. The real cost of credit card debt is not just interest. It is lost freedom. Every month you carry a balance. You are not just paying a bank. You are shrinking your options. You are delaying emergency savings. You are delaying investing. You are delaying peace. You are giving future income to past stress. So the way out begins when you stop asking, can I afford the minimum payment? And you start asking, is this helping me own my future or rent it back from a bank? That one question can change your behavior, because credit card debt lets you pretend you are fine today. Wealth begins when you stop making your future self pay for that performance.